Hello everybody, my name is James, hope you're all doing well, and welcome back to another video. So let's begin with Sergio Perez, who's labelled the FIA's policing of track limits as a joke in the Qatar Grand Prix. Now Qatar is a very high speed track, and like Austria, there are quite a few corners that are fast but narrow, meaning that not putting all four wheels over the white line is much harder. And there were a total of 51 infringements that occurred during the race, more than any other round this year besides the Austrian Grand Prix, where 83 were recorded. And Perez was among drivers to receive multiple penalties for repeatedly exceeding track limits at different points around the circuit. In his case, he was given 3 5-second time penalties, and it got to a point where his team told him that the penalties were hurting their race. And after the Grand Prix, Perez said, "It was impossible to see. I was taking so much margin, giving up so much lap time for it. For me it was very difficult to judge. But there were drivers who were able to do it, so I don't think I did a good enough job in that regard. But I also think it was a joke, what we end up doing with track limits." Now it was very hard to stay in track limits. Like most drivers were struggling, even drivers like Lando Norris had to start 10th after having both his runs deleted in Q3, which is a rare thing to see from drivers. So I do sympathise, but at the same time, receiving 3 5-second penalties during a Grand Prix is way too much. I'd understand if Perez got 1 penalty, but 3 means he must have gone too wide around 9 times. And when you consider that his teammate Max Verstappen dominated out in front without receiving 1 track limit violation, it's not good enough. Yes, Perez was starting at the back and had to take more risk, but as I say, 3 penalties is not good enough. And Red Bull team principal Christian Horner has confirmed he'll sit down with Perez and go back to basics with him. He said, "We desperately need him to find that form to keep this second place in the championship. It was frustrating that he's only come out of the weekend with 1 point, and I think he could have, even starting from the back of the grid, there was an opportunity to score heavily today or decently, but we'll support him as much as we can." Now given how Perez's season has gone, I think this is needed to help him improve. I mean, in the most dominant car on the grid, he's not getting into Q3 way too many times and has barely scored any points over the last 3 races. And if next year Mercedes, McLaren or Ferrari are closer, with Perez's current form, Red Bull will have a tough time finishing 1-2 in the standings, or maybe even securing the Constructors. Now on another note, a lot of drivers were complaining of extreme heat in their cockpits due to the humidity during the Grand Prix. And what didn't help drivers was fatigue brought on by the mandated short stint lanes introduced specifically for this event, which meant the drivers were effectively doing qualifying laps throughout the 57 lap race. And you could see after the race that drivers were struggling, like Alex Albon and Lance Stroll were seen struggling to get out of the car, and Logan Sargent had to retire early due to feeling ill. Speaking about it after the race, George Russell said, "It was beyond the limit I think for what was acceptable for driving. If over 50% of the grid was saying they were sick, couldn't drive, close to passing out, you don't want to be passing out when you're driving 200 miles an hour down a straight." Now the FIA have responded, saying that it's begun an analysis into the situation that led to a number of drivers struggling to cope during the Grand Prix. It said, "A number of measures will be discussed at the upcoming Medical Commission meeting in Paris. Measures may include guidance for competitors, research into modifications for more efficient airflow in the cockpit, and recommendations for changes to the calendar to align with acceptable climate conditions, amongst others." But what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. But that's going to be the video from me today. Thank you ever so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe for more videos, and until the next one, take care